So, something that we all come up against in our lives at times are intense feelings of frustration. Those feelings of just like when you're pushing against something in life and that it's not really going the way that you want it to, and so frustration arises. So when we really look at frustration, it's about not getting our own way, or the ego is not getting its own way in some situation or scenario, and so it responds by having this kind of tantrum, this contraction around not getting its own way, and this sort of results in feelings of frustration. But life is a series of unfolding events that are not always in our control. In fact, probably none of it's really in our control. We can set intentions and get the ball rolling in one sense of what we would like to happen, and we can take steps and action steps to make those things happen. But when they don't, start going the way that we want them to, there is frustration. And really, we're just like, hitting a brick wall in what we want, what the ego wants. So, frustration is basically not feeling like you're in control. And the ego doesn't really like that. um, So, how can we handle our frustrations? How can we handle our frustrations? Well, I feel it's about really just moving around whatever's, appearing to be the source of frustration, and to realize that, things are just happening as part of life, and that sometimes things happen that are not the way we want them to be, but there's no point like having some kind of temper tantrum. So we can deal with it in a few different ways. We can just look at the obstacle itself and work around it, and that try and relax the contraction or the resistance to what is, because basically frustration is resistance to what is happening now, or what's occurring in our lives right now. It's an insistence of the ego for it to be something else that it's not. So really, releasing any frustrations is about releasing our own insistence for things to be a certain way, to want a certain outcome that's maybe not happening at the time. So frustration is our own insistence of what we want, of how we think it should look like, of how we think life should look like in this moment. But when we realize that you can't argue with life, basically, you can't argue with life, you can't argue with what is right now in this moment happening, despite my intentions, despite our intentions for something else to be happening. It's really about acceptance of the flow of life, and in the acceptance of the flow of life, we can release the resistance to life. And in that sense, we're also allowing or inviting cosmic forces to unravel, whatever's maybe been an obstacle or perceived as an obstacle. So we allow life to just be as it is. We can't argue with life. And it's what we often do. We often fight against life. We insist it should be this way or that way. So it seems that that's where frustration arises from, is our own insistence of it being a certain way or looking like a certain way. So if we can realize that life is, just unfolding the way it's going to unfold, and that we can obviously, have certain intentions or direction that we want to go in, or things that we're, participating in the creative flow, but not to get frustrated as soon as, like we come up against something that is not being the way we want it to be. So the other way is to be in the flow with life, to be flowing with life, not against it. It's to flow with the river going downstream rather than to fight against it. And it's a much simpler and easier way. It's a much less stressful way. It's certainly much less stressful than getting frustrated and angry because things aren't the way I want them to be. So, do you want the path of stress or do you want the path of flow? So that's up to you to just choose. Choose how we respond to life, but we can't really choose what happens in life, but we can choose how we respond to it. So yeah, just let the frustrations fall away, and we can choose peace. We can choose to not react. We can choose to flow with life. We can choose to flow with life's own dance, life's own cosmic dance, instead of resisting. Thank you.